Most people know that DNA is our genetic information. It determines our traits. But most people wouldn't be able to explain why. You have many different chemicals in your body: proteins, carbohydrates, fats, water. Why is DNA the molecule that contains our genetic information? Well, the answer has to do with the structure of DNA and its ability to replicate itself. DNA replication is a process that a cell uses to copy chromosomes. So this will take place within the nucleus of a cell, and it happens before the cell divides. Remember that a chromosome is made up of one big DNA molecule, and that genetic information is really the instructions for building a protein, and those proteins are what determine our traits. Now, the cell has to copy each chromosome before it divides because each new cell needs a copy of all of the genetic information. So it's important that this process happens efficiently and correctly. So we're going to zoom in on just one small segment of DNA within a chromosome, within a nucleus, within a cell. Here we go. Let's quickly review the structure of DNA. Remember that DNA is like a ladder, and the sides of the ladder, the backbones of the ladder, are made up of alternating deoxyribose sugars and phosphates. So we've got a phosphate sugar, phosphate sugar, phosphate sugar, and so on. The more interesting part is the rungs of the ladder. These are made up of 4 nitrogenous bases, specifically A, T, C, and G. Now, A, T, C, and G aren't shown in this animation, but the 4 different bases are indicated by 4 different colors. And you can see in this that red is always pairing with blue, and green is always pairing with yellow. Well, that represents the fact that C always pairs with G, and A always pairs with T. And that structural feature is going to be really important to the process of replication. Another important thing to note is that the bases are held together by very weak hydrogen bonds. That also is going to be important to DNA replication. One last piece about DNA structure. The genetic code itself is based on the sequence of the bases. So depending on the order of these 4 bases, that will determine the protein that a cell produces. And the reason why people are unique is because they have a unique sequence of bases in their DNA. So now let's jump into DNA replication. The first thing that happens is that the DNA molecule unwinds, because really it's coiled up as a helix, and then it unzips into 2 separate strands. And each of these parent strands, or original strands, is going to serve as a template for making a copy. And because of this, we call DNA replication semi-conservative. This will make more sense in a moment. So now what happens is that a new DNA subunit, a nucleotide, is going to come and bond to complementary bases. And here's why those complementary bases are so important. C and G will know to pair together, and A and T will know to pair together. This eliminates mistakes. So now we have 2 identical DNA molecules, and each is an exact copy of the original. And again, this is semi-conservative because in each new DNA molecule, 1 strand was from the original and 1 strand is from the old molecule. Same thing here. 1 strand was from the old original molecule and 1 strand is a new molecule. And while it's not shown in this animation, this whole process is catalyzed by enzymes. There are enzymes that unwind the DNA, there are enzymes that unzip the DNA, enzymes that help bring over the subunits, and enzymes that actually go through and proofread it to make sure that there are no mistakes, because a mistake is a mutation, which could be good or could be bad. So please make sure that you've added to your notes that DNA replication is semi-conservative and it's catalyzed by enzymes. So now we're going to zoom back out. Here we are in the nucleus and the cell. So we've got just one nucleus, but the DNA molecules have now been copied. At the end of DNA replication, all of the chromosomes will be copied, and you can see that each chromosome has now doubled, and it's held in place by a centromere. And this is DNA replication. Now that we know how DNA replication works, we'll be able to take a look at how cells divide in later lessons via mitosis or meiosis.